Harry's Wife. A Less Than Royal Narcissist. Part 62.3. Prince Harry has managed to slip his handler, at least physically, and has returned to the United Kingdom ahead of the unveiling of a statue dedicated to his late mother, Diana, Princess of Wales. He's currently in quarantine, although one would wonder if he might have decided to adopt a less than socially distanced approach, similar to that enjoyed by Matt Hancock, the British Health Secretary, recently. But that's a tale for another day. Given that Prince Harry is now back in the United Kingdom and is at least not physically proximate to his handler, Harry's wife, might this provide a further opportunity for reconciliation between him and his brother, William, the Duke of Cambridge? Well, let's go to the Mail Online and see what they have to say. And as a certain individual, Robert Lacey, apparently a royal expert, who provides us with a number of observations which are worth analysis within the context of understanding more about the behaviours of Harry's wife, and also, of course, the impact on other people affected by her behaviour. Those of you who are listening who have had the experience of being involved with a narcissist know of the knock-on effect that it has with regard to the treatment of siblings, extended family, spouses, friends, etc. The way that you might have been isolated from those people, separated from your support systems. The way that it causes you perhaps to have gone up against members of your family when you didn't realise that your partner or spouse was a narcissist. How you caught yourself caught between recognising some of the things that your family spoke of, but feeling that you ought to defend and remain loyal to your spouse, notwithstanding their poor behaviour. The article explains, for nearly 3 years, the small circle of friends close to both Prince William and Prince Harry has been despairing over the searing animosity, the sheer, uncompromising, bloody-minded anger between the two princes. It's no coincidence that a certain somebody else has been knocking around for just over 3 years. The article explains, but in April, the sad news of Prince Philip's death seemed to offer a glimmer of hope. The family gathering for their grandfather's funeral would bring the warring brothers together in an atmosphere of reflection. Might this be the chance for some healing to develop, wondered a few of their chums. So, without being too obvious about it, that theme of healing became an element in their friendly chats with their royal mates in the days that followed. Their friends' gentle nudges seemed to have had some effect that solemn Saturday afternoon as the two princes walked out of St. George's Chapel to cross the courtyard side by side, subtly brought together by Kate, who then left the pair to the brotherly exchange of words seen on camera. Some inching towards reconciliation seemed in progress, their watching friends dare to dream, as did the whole world. But those hopes were dashed within minutes of the siblings getting inside the castle and beyond camera vision. They started quarrelling again. There they were, at each other's throats as fiercely as ever, relates one long-time friend, with a tired and helpless shrug. The rage and anger between those two has grown so incredibly deep, too many harsh and wounding things have been said. So, sadly, no. There was no reconciliation, and no brotherly sit-down or mini-summit following Prince Philip's funeral on April 17th, as was incorrectly reported by one newspaper. William and Kate did the family rounds and said goodbye to the Queen and Prince Charles, then went home to their children. So there's the bad news. The conflict between Diana's two bitterly divided sons does not seem likely to end any time soon. But there are happier tidings. The oh-so-unforgiving and unforgetting brothers are surrounded by a network of devoted friends and a few family members who are working seriously to ease the path to a truce, and their efforts are matched by deliberate and constructive initiatives being think-tanked inside the palace. There is a peace plan in action. Several plans, in fact. But will the obstinately warring brothers take those up when they reunite next Thursday for the unveiling of their mother's statue? It will be an almost private event, we now know. Will William and Harry start seeing sense and pay more heed to the advice of friends that they have built up over the years? The difficulty that arises is, of course, William isn't normal, and he has a considerable amount of emotional empathy for his brother because he sits within his small circle of emotional empathy. He would, of course, have a degree of emotional empathy for his sister-in-law, but of course that has been eroded by her behaviour. And, more recently, his own behaviour has demonstrated that he has grown into repeatedly impatient and despairing of Harry, and so Prince William's own emotional empathy for his brother has been eroded by the behaviour of his sister-in-law and Harry. Similarly, Harry's empathy for his own brother has been eroded as a consequence of his misguided loyalty to his wife, unable to see that he's being manipulated and blinded by his own emotional thinking. He, like many people, has experienced the corruption of various empathic and narcissistic traits, pride, honesty, decency, to cause him, for instance, to feel that other people are attacking his wife unfairly and unnecessarily, and therefore, out of a sense of misguided loyalty, he is moved to defend her, thus diminishing his own emotional empathy for other people, notably William, resulting in the conflict that is occurring. And of course, friends advising may well not realise what's at play and think that there is some kind of compromise that can be adopted. What, as I've explained previously, they need to do is ensure that both brothers know precisely what they're dealing with, that there is a narcissist in their midst, and that is what is causing the problem. Of course, William will no doubt be savvy to the behaviours that have been exhibited. He may not know precisely what's driving them, he may not know that the N-word is involved, but he will recognise that the behaviour is poor, controlling, divisive, and he doesn't want any more of it. The problem remains that this impacts upon his relationship with his brother, and it'll be some time yet before his brother Harry wakes up and realises what he is involved in. And until that happens, he will continue to wage war, in effect, with William, driven by his lack of understanding that he's being manipulated and the obscuring nature of his emotional thinking. The article continues. This discreet but concerned support system is made up of a blend of schoolmates, playmates, fellow revellers at Club H, the brothers' discotheque in the basement at Highgrove, companions from the armed forces, royal mentors and aides who have earned special confidence over the years, plus a few older pillars of wisdom and advice among Diana's friends. This is the sort of web and trust and affinity that we all weave around ourselves as we progress through life, with a crucial difference. If you study the guest lists of the grand 2011 and 2018 royal weddings, you cannot help but be struck by how many of the same names recur, for the two brothers' social and working lives were always, until recently, exceptionally close. Their friends made up a particularly tight network until the moment of Harry's wife's arrival. And when the fraternal split followed, for all its depth and bitterness, the circle of friends did not in fact take rival sides. So this offers some grounds for hope. We're not looking here at raging modern war of the roses. Obviously people have gravitated supportively to one brother or the other, and they have listened sympathetically to their particular royal chum. But I have not come across any evidence of friends aggravating the hostilities. Indeed, and there's no need to, and they won't have done, because neither Harry nor William is a narcissist that needs to utilise a coterie to that extent. Unfortunately, however, the friends don't appear to understand precisely what's at play here, and their advice may well be misguided. Of course, it's noteworthy that the article describes the fact that the friends made up a particularly tight network until the moment of Harry's wife's arrival, and it is common when a narcissist enters the life of one particular party, especially when they are the spouse, and causes that victim to be the intimate partner primary source, that they end up driving a wedge between that particular individual, their friends, and their family, because those existing relationships threaten the narcissist's innate and unconscious need for control. The narcissist will smear some of those friends and family, Those that are not going to pose a threat to control will be looked upon favourably, as they are painted white. But anybody who wants to spend time with the intimate partner primary source, thus taking them away from the narcissist, or indeed anybody that senses there's something not quite right with the new arrival, is instinctively identified by the narcissist as a threat to control, and therefore will be the receipt of various manipulations themselves, sometimes directly, more usually indirectly, as the narcissist smears that individual to the intimate partner primary source. Sometimes it takes place by way of the pity play. I don't think your friends like me. They seem standoffish with me. Sometimes providing misinformation. One of your friends tried it on with me, you know. Or your family. They're not very supportive of you, are they? Sowing those seeds of doubt for the purposes of trying to unconsciously assert control both over the intimate partner primary source by tightening the grip upon them and loosening the relationship between that intimate partner primary source and other members. The article continues. Quite the contrary, all the mutual friends I have encountered find themselves seeing both points of view: William's defensiveness of the monarchy as he sees it, and Harry's defensiveness as his wife. Love versus duty. This is what makes it so painful. The friends commiserate with each other over the tragedy that they are witnessing, and they frequently discuss how to heal the breach, though with an increasing sense of despair. Sussex supporters have noted the bizarre combination of self-promotion and self-pity that characterises Harry's wife, and can see why it has infuriated William. Harry's wife can be a 500% nightmare. Some close friends of Harry are among the first to admit. The never-ending PR, she's just so American. Well, of course she's American, and there are cultural differences between those in the United States and Britain, but the never-ending PR is nothing to do with her being American, although, of course, those friends have made the mistake. They, of course, see this behaviour, which is a form of the assertion of control, which is inherent in the narcissist, and, as is commonly the case by people who don't understand or recognise narcissism, rather than attribute the behaviour to what it actually is, the need to assert control, driven by the narcissism, they attribute it to something else, namely, oh, it's just PR, she's just so American, that's what Americans do, isn't it? They're all about self-promotion. Well, no, not all Americans are about self-promotion. Yes, there are subtle cultural differences. Brits generally are more reserved, but I know plenty of reserved Americans. I also know plenty of Brits that are into self-promotion. It's not so much a cultural difference here. Of course, what's behind it is nothing to do with culture and everything to do with the fact that one of the individuals concerned is a narcissist. Yet once again, this highlights the fact that this behaviour is not being identified by those friends and supporters. The article continues. On the opposite side, friends of William and Kate are willing to concede the jealousy the Cambridges once felt at being overshadowed by the megawatt younger brother and his wife. And again, remember that Kate, as an empathic individual, and William, as a normal, both have narcissistic traits, one of which is envy and jealousy, and therefore that will manifest itself from time to time. But of course, their reaction is born out of jealousy, but also their reactions are born out of the effect that is being implemented against Harry by the narcissist, yet of course they don't realise this. I continue with further analysis of this lengthy Mail Online article in a further part of this, in part 62.4, as we look at more about the actual behaviours and the impact that it has on other people. Join me there.